is a great pleasure to introduce our special guest for this Young Enterprise event. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honoured to introduce you to the former Chancellor and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Gordon Brown. Gordon, good morning.
Good morning. I hope everybody's well and everybody's safe. It is a delight to be with you. I was involved 15 years ago in helping Young Enterprise move forward with summer schools, and we had a report on enterprise and education. And I see how in the last year in particular, you've developed phenomenally. So keep going, and I'm here to do whatever I can to support you.
I wonder if I can bring you, Gordon, to our topic for today. And it's really about the changing world of work. And I just wonder if we zoom right out, if I could ask you firstly, what changes do you think we should be prepared to see in the world of work over the coming months and years?
Yeah, I think they're quite transformational. I think we were already in a process of change, and I think it's going to accelerate. Online, obviously, working from home. But just think of the opportunities before we deal with some of the problems we've got to address. Opportunities in the digital, in the IT area, massively expansion. Online health, online education, everything else. Social care, we know we've neglected it. We're going to have to train people in this one-to-one caring profession that needs to be developed to the full. And you know, the proposition of Young Enterprise, everybody has a talent. Everybody has potential. Everybody is unique, and everybody's got something special to offer. And it's our job to help people bridge the gap between what they are and what they haven't in themselves to become. And that's why Young Enterprise is so successful, because you don't just talk about academic, or you don't just talk about traditional craft skills. You talk about skills in a whole range of areas, including being self-employed, starting your own business, showing entrepreneurial mindset, as you've just said. And that, I think, is so important for the future.
Yeah, and I'm hearing within that mix, Gordon, access to experiences, perhaps retraining, reskilling. Just say a little bit about why that matters to you and some of your recommendations for what you'd like to see happening for and in support of the next generation.
So Sharon said 1 million young people this month are out of work doing nothing. Now that's a phenomenal figure when you think about it. That's 1 million young people right across the country can't look forward to the possibility of a job. The only letters they may get are rejection letters from employers saying we can't take you on, if the employer even replies. So we've got to do something bigger than the Kickstart scheme, which has been introduced by the government. We've got to promise work experience. We've got to promise proper training. We've got to promise help with job search, like help with writing your job applications. And we've got to give employers an incentive to take people on. And we've got to help people, even if you're 10, like the story we had, of showing your entrepreneurial skills and giving people a chance to develop this. So there is nothing more important than this. We cannot return to the 1980s, when I saw so many young people, their chances destroyed almost for a decade and more, because they were months, in some cases years, without a proper job. We've got to do something about it, but it's built on this idea of Young Enterprise. Everybody has a talent. We must help people develop that. That's the key.
Yeah, it is absolutely the key. I remember very vividly your support of enterprise education as Chancellor and Prime Minister. Just tell us why enterprise education was so important to you in that most powerful role.
When I was at school, no businessman, no businesswoman ever entered our school. And so teachers did not encourage business leaders to come into school at that time. And I tried to encourage schools to bring in business leaders, and that's been happening. But it makes a huge difference, because we never knew firsthand what a business was about. We weren't being taught that at all. Nobody knew. So you've got to have enterprise education in the curriculum. It really matters so much.
Yeah, and it is about unlocking that talent, isn't it? I've got a question here, which has been sent in from Maddie Pete, and we'll see Maddie asking her question. She's from the Youth Zone in Wigan. If we could just see that question now. Thank you, Maddie, for sending it in. Let's have a look.
I've been doing enterprise since I was junior, selling milkshakes and Christmas crafts, and now enrolled onto the Young Enterprise programme at Wigan Youth Zone. What advice would you help young people do enterprise in the school curriculum?
So I think we've got to persuade the education authorities to take this more seriously. Undoubtedly, teachers are under real pressure. I mean, particularly because the school curriculum has been interrupted. But I think, as I said before, bring the business leaders into the school, get them talking to the kids. And at the same time, school children, get them a chance to go into a company and see how a company works while you're still at school.
Yeah.
And it's this interaction. If all you're hearing about is the academic course, or a particular vocational course, then we're not showing people the range of opportunities that are available to them. And that's what you've got to do. Bring business into school, have interchanges between school and business, get the teachers into the business, get the business into the school. And I think that would make a huge difference. We just got to encourage more of that, so that enterprise is very much part of the school, not just the curriculum, but just the way a school works, linked up to its local community, and seeing all the businesses that are making a difference in that area and what can be done and what opportunities you have.
That seems like a good moment to put another question to you from the Chief Exec of the Social Mobility Foundation, Sarah Atkinson. This is very close to her heart. Sarah asks this question. Let's see if we can get that.
In the wake of the global financial crash of 2008, social mobility in the UK declined. How do we learn the lessons and prevent that from happening again this time, especially given that the pandemic is affecting not just the economy, but also education? Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We looked at this in 2008-9, and we tried to do something. We were discussing the frustration that people had because social mobility was being held back, and young people particularly weren't getting the opportunity to move forward. Think of this as opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. How can we extend the range of opportunities even in a time when businesses are not taking on people? So the public sector's got to play a role. Local authorities should be given the resources to help people do things. Environmental programs have really got to be introduced. Social housing, we've got to build that. So we need more opportunities for people to do things. And I think that'll make a difference. The other thing I would say is there's no substitute for one-to-one tutoring and mentoring. I mean, that's really got to be part of everything that we do.
Yeah, I'm struck by the opportunity that the United Kingdom has as a world leader in education, technology, connecting all around the world. And that question on social mobility, we had a number of similar questions, including from Jessica Carson, Sony Music UK, around the most effective intervention to help further social justice. So this is...
Well, I think we've got to increase the college and university places. It's ridiculous when there's a demand. A lot of people are not getting into college and university at the moment. So that's a big thing we've got to do. We've got to reward jobs that are seen as underpaid and under-recognized, like in the caring professions. I mean, a career in the caring professions, whether providing care as a business or whether as an individual in the care sector, is something that we should value far more. So social mobility is helped if we don't just regard these jobs as low-paid jobs or starter jobs. We regard these jobs as really professional jobs, because we've seen in this crisis the risks that people take to work in the social care sector. We've seen how much we should value the NHS and all the jobs in that, not just from surgeons to nurses, but from nurses to all the auxiliaries, as we call them, because they're not auxiliaries. The people who are the porters, the people who are the caterers, the people who are the cleaners in the health service. We need to value people more, and we need to show that as a route to social mobility, and not something that captures you in a low-paid job and you can't escape it.
Yeah, no, totally. So this question is from Ed Kensington, the Chief of Staff and Head of Strategy at HSBC. It's around their work as a leading employer, saying, we bring in significant numbers of young people every year through a variety of routes. What can we do to encourage schools to focus more of their teaching around skills of the future that have vocational relevance? Great question.
Well, offer as a company your skills and your people to come into the schools. I mean, it's just what I said at the beginning. The second thing is we have to look around the world at the great courses. We used to think of education as the teacher on the stage lecturing the children or the young people in the classroom. Now you can have the best teachers in the world getting to your classroom by doing online lectures and so on and so forth. So get the best teacher in the world that can talk about a particular course and get them streamed into your classroom. That's the way forward. And we need to use the whole range of online services to make education in its best sense available to people, without failing to recognize that we need one-to-one mentoring and tutoring as Young Enterprise wants to see.
Yeah. So there's on that. There's a even pithier question here from Lorraine Holden, the VP Humanitarian and Development at Mastercard, and it is again about our schools, particularly in the UK. Does the current UK schools curriculum prepare our young people adequately for the jobs of the future? And if not, what is missing? You've talked about how we can get those skills flowing in, but what are those skills, and how do we? What is missing?
Well, not enough, obviously, because look, I'm less computer literate than my teenage sons, and teachers will, in many respects, be less computer literate than the pupils. So we've got to expand that kind of education, the ability to use artificial intelligence, the ability to use all the digital innovations that have been made. And to be honest, I think we've been quite slow to introduce that into our schools. And I think that's got to be done. It's a big investment, but it's worth it. And you can link up with some of these companies, including the Mastercard Foundation, which does a lot of good work.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. There is a question about parents and children. Actually, Lorraine Allman, I hope you don't mind. It's more personal. As a parent, how are you encouraging your own children's enterprising mindset?
That's difficult. You have to ask my kids about that, about whether they think. I mean, one of my sons is doing the Duke of Edinburgh's award because he thinks that will develop his skills in doing voluntary work and so on. Another is very interested in IT and digital. And you've got to find, you know, it's not for me to say to them what their talent is. It's for them to say to me, look, this is what I'm interested in. And you've got to find what interests young people and then say, let's build on that. Think of what you could do with this. Think of what you could do on this course, or think of the opportunities that Young Enterprise are offering you as well. So I think it's very much listening to your teenagers particularly, and them telling you what they think they want to develop as a skill and a talent.
A very brief question. Mark Goddard, Managing Director of UBS. If you were still Prime Minister, now we're getting into it, how would you approach creating jobs for graduates coming out of university now into, of course, very difficult and uncertain times? Be as practical as you like on that.
Well, I mean, I finished at university and there was a recession on at that time, a long time ago, and I didn't have work for several months. And there's going to be a massive amount of graduate unemployment. So I would persuade companies to take people on as graduates. I would, if necessary, I would stay on and get another qualification. I think you've got to realize that when you finish your university education, your education is not finished. And there may be skills that you can acquire that can help you get jobs later. But as companies, I think companies should come together with the government, and we should have a plan that says, look, we have got several 100,000 unemployed graduates. Let's see what we can do as companies and government together and find a funding scheme that can get people into work. I think it's really important that we have a collective effort to make that happen.
Yeah, and what would be your rallying call to a business tuned in?
That young people have great talent. And if we waste a generation of talent, we will pay a heavy price in the future. So even if it may seem costly in the short term, even if it may seem that you cannot take on additional responsibilities as an employer, you should consider doing it.
I want to come back to our theme of the morning, particularly around mindset. Hannah asks a question, Hannah Cook, what role does mindset play in enabling young people to succeed? We've talked a lot about connections, to opportunities, experiences. How about mindset?
Well, I think it comes back to what was said at the beginning, hope, because people's mindset has got to be something can change, something can be better. We can actually make things improve. And if you start from the fact you have got a talent, you have got potential, you've got a special quality that you can add to benefit our society, then we will help you develop that talent. And the mindset is, instead of being desolate and instead of losing hope, that you have the hope that something will change. And it's not optimism, which is something might change, and it's not wishful thinking, something could change. It's hope that something will change because we're determined it changes. You know, there's a French saying that you can survive for 40 days without food, 8 days without water, 8 minutes without air, but you can't survive for a second without hope. And we have got to persuade people that even in the most difficult and desolate of times, when people feel that they've lost out, and for many people this will feel a year that has been taken out of their lives because of the virus, there is still hope. and we can make what seems impossible at the moment possible by working together to achieve it.
So say all of us on this call and far, far beyond. Former Prime Minister, Chancellor, Global Envoy on Global Education for the United Nations, Gordon Brown, thank you so much for joining us.
My best wishes to you in everything you do.